I don't know why I'm here.
Well, I'll tell you why you're here. Because we've invited you to our family table, Cezanne.
Well, I'm glad and interested to be here. Thanks. Teasing is fun. My booster seat works, just so you know. Let's get it out the way.
I think we need to tell the private
right
joke.
height.
What's that? Keanu Reeves. What? Who's it? What? No. What's the guy? Tom Cruise.
What about Tom Cruise?
I'm just saying, short guys make money.
If you don't know about short guys. But tell us how you are a short guy who happens to make his money. I think some people might be familiar with you, right? 1813?
Yeah. So we're becoming more of a wine business, but it started as just a normal shop in Cedar Square in Four Ways. And trying to do education, just approaching wine in a different way.
But let's tell the truth though, in South Africa there's a concept that wine is really lani. I mean, for a lot of people who actually enjoy wine now, we don't all start there, that's the truth.
Yeah, no, look, I started on Four Cousins.
Exactly, same here.
I think that's what we're trying to break with 1813 at least. Sure. Even yesterday, I mean, Bongani's been there a few times, crawled out once or twice, but but my point is, what we're trying
to...
I'm coming with energy. I mean, you invite me, and he's a friend, right? But you invite a wine guy, and you're drinking whiskey.
I'll take offense. Cezanne, should we kick him off?
Anyway, no, it's your show, Google. Let's be honest.
So just for the show, I would take wine.
Okay.
For the audience.
Okay.
Oh. So
I'll
for the
grab
audience, what I'll do is I'm going to take the whiskey.
Thank you, Bongani.
Finally.
Jeez, man.
Thank you, Bongani.
This is
I'll serve you.
Okay, I'll leave the water here.
Can I get your glass?
You even going to serve him, Cezanne.
Oh my God.
Oh, you know certain
he's
people.
Very particular.
No, I'm not particular.
Are you gonna let it breathe and all that stuff you do?
Yeah, we can get there. All the stuff I do, the wine's breathing by itself. I'm not breathing the wine. But to answer your question, I think there's this big stigma of wine, to your point, and I personally hate it. I was doing a tasting yesterday, and this lady was like, "No, walk me through it all. Like what Loganberries and all of that." And I'm like, that irritates me. So firstly, I don't belong to that church, so I don't know how grass tastes. So if you tell me there's grass in the wine, I don't know why you know how grass tastes. But anyway, and also like Loganberries and stuff, they're not putting Loganberries in the glass. So the first start is whatever you taste is what you taste. And that's kind of what we want to show. I saw this meme. It said like, it was from entry to expert.
Yeah.
And the beginning is like, I don't know why. And then the intermediate is like, I like Pinot Noir. Then the wine enthusiast is, I like exploring wines. And then the wine expert says, let's just drink and get drunk. Because the more experts you get, if I say to the winemaker or a top sommelier or somebody that knows what they're doing, we don't evaluate wines like this. Because the lady was like, how do you swirl? You must do this. And I was like...
But that's what we often think, right? That's what we're taught when it comes to, like, I guess, an introduction of enjoying wine.
You have to be in a restaurant that looks sophisticated. Right?
Yes, and that's the problem.
And the one thing that I don't get, I go to a restaurant and I order X brand. Because I know that it's
sponsorships matter.
My brand go-to.
Yeah.
Why do they still make me taste it?
Yeah.
So if I taste it and I go, I don't like it.
What happens?
They've opened the bottle. What happens?
Okay, so let's get there. If a waiter, you're talking about in a restaurant?
Yes, in a restaurant scenario.
Yeah, so the purpose why you get poured is not do you like it, it's to check if it's off. So if a waiter's going to give you a taste...
I thought
it was if you like it and if it's actually the brand that you chose.
Exactly.
Well, let's be honest, most people don't know what they're doing.
If it's off? Because I've never tasted wine that's off.
So with wine, there's a few ways that a wine has faults. Okay? Are you just saying...
No, I genuinely...
I was trying to find
He's very serious about wine.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can tease me about my height, but don't tease me about wine.
Okay, we got him in the mood now. All
so when you pour wine, right? So a wine, you know why wine must lay flat?
No.
Okay. Do you mind passing that bottle there? I'll show you something.
Okay, we've got some stock here.
Yeah.
And it's been laying flat.
Yes.
Okay.
So the whole purpose of a wine bottle, so this has a cork in it, right?
Yeah.
So the reason you lay a wine flat is if you can look at it, it keeps the cork wet. Now don't get sexual. It keeps the cork wet. Okay. Now when you I came hot, man. Okay. I came hot.
You came hot. Okay.
So by keeping the cork wet, right? Now if you keep it straight up, look at that. There's air gap, right?
Sure. Yes.
And when a wine the cork isn't kept wet, it dries out, and then it starts molding.
There's an exam after. Yeah.
Yeah. So then the cork will crack, and if it's gonna mold and crack, it's gonna allow oxygen in, and then it oxygenates.
Ah.
Because when you seal a wine, there's no oxygen in the bottle, you know. So
Yes.
just like with other products. So that's a one way a wine can go off. That's why.
But then the oxygen is here.
No, but it doesn't matter about that.
As long as the
No,
cork
but there's
doesn't
no
get dry,
oxygen.
that's
The
the
only
secret.
reason
If
you
the
store it
cork
on
is
this.
dry, then it molds.
Yeah, I didn't pass science.
No, but also she listens. So the next thing is people with screw caps, right? People think, okay, screw caps is a cheap wine.
That's what I thought.
Right.
Yeah. You buy it at, okay, I won't mention the retailer, but
Well, no, I sell
if you
screw
just want to
caps.
get drunk quickly, buy, pour.
I'm
and-
glad you said that because that's the general consumer's thought, right? Everybody thinks, okay, if it's in a screw cap, it must mean cheap. Now, if it's in a box, it's cheap. Fine, right? Let's just.
Okay, so box is cheap.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the quality of box wines are going up, but it's a
Yes.
mass product,
Okay.
right? But with screw cap, the only reason you use cork really is because this was the only closure method back then, you know?
Yeah.
So there was no.
So this is just a result of what? Legacy?
Remember, you
and
used to seal
historical
milk
practices.
with cork,
Yes.
water bottles, all these
Yes,
things.
yes.
So it's more a historic thing, and this is, you know, that feeling of, it's nice, right? But the technology that came with a screw cap, they couldn't find a tight enough seal, right? So with that screw cap, that rim, they couldn't get it sealed enough. But now the technology is where they get a really good seal on that bottle. So now you're finding real good wines in screw caps. And with a screw cap, the reason I mentioned it is you can store a screw cap upright.
Oh,
Because
there's
it won't.
no risk of the
There
cork
there's
actually-
no risk of that, right?
Okay.
And then the next thing is direct sunlight. So if you look at a wine bottle, it has a tint on it, right? So if you just visualize a white bottle, not racially, but a bottle of white wine
It's clear.
and a bottle of red wine.
I'm listening, Cezanne.
Sorry,
I
I'm
think
just
I'm
having fun.
actually
I'm paying attention.
here.
Okay.
I'm like,
Oh, it's cool. So it has
this
tints.
guy,
Red.
and he's from Stellenbosch. That's another story.
Yes, there
Yeah.
were, but it's close to Stellenbosch, yes. I'm not going to talk down on my own time, my hood. So a bottle has tint, right?
Yeah.
So the reason a red wine has a darker tint on it is because it acts like a UV protection.
Ah.
So you don't want sunlight interacting with the wine. So a way that a wine can spoil is if you leave it in the sun, direct sunlight. And that's why a lot of people store their wines in like a kitchen. You know, that's the worst place actually to have your wine stored. Because one, it's hot in there.
I thought
Yes.
easy access.
And most people want a bright, sunny kitchen.
Kitchen.
And sun is the worst thing for wine, especially long-term storage and variations in heat. So the reason red wine especially has a tint is because the winemaker says if it is in a darker tint, theoretically it means it should age. Where a white wine has a lighter bottle because you're not meant to age it as long. So you don't need that UV kind of a vibe, you know, but it protects against UV. And then fluctuations in temperature. So if you store a wine, the best way to store wine is your coldest room in the cupboard, laying flat.
Coldest room in the cupboard,
But
laying flat.
Laying flat.
Laying flat.
Okay.
Because you want consistency, no sunlight, and a cooler temperature. But that's coming with a long answer to your question. So that's the ways a wine can spoil, and you'll know when a wine's off. It'll
Really?
taste like balsamic vinegar kind of a thing, you know. It'll be vinegary. But yeah, that's the reason you can put that on the side.
You actually know so much, Cezanne. I'm intrigued because I think
I'm
you...
actually thinking, should you call him Dr. Cezanne?
A doctor, Dr.
In
Cezanne.
wine.
In wine. But look, you're swirling your glass, which takes us back to the Lani attitude.
Me, I'm just
and what you've done, as you said, is democratized, right? Access to...
Look, so what we tried doing at 1813, we're not saying wine education is bad. I believe there's a lot people should learn about wine because we're living in a country that's producing some of the best wines in the world. Now we know South Africa wins some of the most awards in wine,
Sure.
by far, right? And we don't have a local culture. Let me ask you a question. When last did you have a bottle of American wine?
Americans make wine.
You know,
I don't think I ever have.
but because
I'm sure there's a Trump wine though.
I'll
But
drink
anyway,
it.
that's a
I'll
story
drink
for
it.
another day.
I'm just saying. I'm not going to get political here. That's the one thing I want to do. The thing about American wine is it's consumed by Americans.
Okay.
Have you had a
So
soup?
they've got. So if I was to go to America,
Yeah.
What visit
there's
the
a
valley?
wine farm there.
The Napa Valley.
Really?
It's
Yes,
one of the
it's like
most
the
famous
equivalent
wine
of-
regions
I
in the
mean,
world.
me, I thought it's just us
I forgot
and the
Ma-
French.
Malawi. You know?
Stop! I'm so shocked,
Yeah.
and probably being naive. Yeah, Americans have got wine farms.
Yeah. And then
I
they're
thought
good
they
wine.
were What are Americans known for? Beer.
Burgers, football, but wine.
They have a big
The Napa
wine
Valley.
region. The Napa Valley, Sonoma Valley,
Yes.
the Finger Lakes in New York,
Sure.
Washington State.
Yeah.
A funny fact is actually every state in the US has a wine region.
Wow.
All 50 states. I was in Ohio doing a tasting. I was there for the wedding because I lived out there for a bit. But in Ohio, they have a wine region. And it's Ohio. Nobody drinks it, but they have wines.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the point of the matter is we need local consumption
Sure.
because we export 85% of our wines as South Africans. And that's where I came back from the States and I was like, man, what can I do? Because corporate wasn't working for me, you know? And I was like, what can we do with wine that's different? And so the wines we stock is not the stuff you find in your mainstream liquor stores or in your restaurants. You know, we try providing a service that the stuff you're going to get from us is a smaller batch, unique stuff. But in America, they have liquor stores and then they have wine shops. In Europe too, I suppose. I haven't lived there, but I know that they have that option where your liquor store is alcohol. You know, you're buying it or your mainstream stuff and there's a purpose for it. But then they also have specialty wine shops and that grows culture. So South Africa, we need to grow culture because
What do you think about wine culture then in South Africa?
it's to your point earlier, it's very pretentious. So the people that know, and most of the people that tell me they know wine don't know wine.
Really?
Because
Even if I come to you and I say, oh, well, I'm sensing undertones of a woody note.
oh,
and
I'll leave the room.
berries and
I don't want to drink with you, even me. Yeah, I mean, there's a purpose for swirling. But the thing is, if you drink the same wine all the time, you don't like wine. Because wine is all about exploring.
remember.
No, it's all,
When I go to a restaurant, it's red, Sauvignon, what?
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, never mind.
I'm
You'll be
getting
saying
it wrong.
secret at the end.
I'm getting it wrong.
yeah.
we say-
He said
Let me-
he
let me
was
stick
about
to
to.
whiskey.
You know what he was about to say?
Let me stick to whiskey.
He was about to say a red Sauvignon Blanc.
me
And
stick
obviously
to
Sauvignon
whiskey.
Blancs are white wine.
Exactly.
Let me stick to whiskey.
Yeah.
Let me stick to my single malt.
But coming to this, he drinks wine, he appreciates wine. But even Bongani
As educated as he
has
is, right?
room to grow, right?
I always say, after a couple of glasses, it all tastes the same.
Okay. Hopefully not in my store. But anyway, the thing is, I don't know, man. There's this, unless we have a wine culture, it also promotes responsible drinking, right? For me, I will very easily go to a bar. Well, when I go to bars and restaurants, I never order wine.
Why?
Because, okay, I might be a snob when I say this, but for me, I can drink cheap beer, but I can't drink cheap wine because I can taste a cheap wine. There's just this, when you into it, and it doesn't mean price tag. I mean,
But that's because you've developed an appreciation for it, right? As you said,
Yeah.
you don't just go
Over
into a
time, yeah.
store and actually
Yeah.
select a red Sauvignon
yeah,
Blanc.
so for me, but also, you know, the problem in our wine industry in South Africa is it's unfortunately owned by a lot of Afrikaans white guys in Cape Town, which I hate. I'm from Cape Town, so I can say it. But they're not interested in marketing to black people.
You're going to get me excited now because let's talk transformation. This is where
Yeah.
I like talking about these kind of things, about the
Yeah.
economy and driving transformation. I do recall a few years ago, there used to be the Soweto Wine Festival,
Yes.
right? And it had a few key sponsors behind it. And a lot of the concerns was that they brought the cheaper wine, the Four Cousins, the stuff in the box, and maybe some of the stuff with the screw cap
Yeah.
that actually was a lot
Yeah.
cheaper. And that raises a very important point because we are seeing a stronger drive to have black sommeliers in the market. We are trying to get corporate companies as well as some of these wineries to, sharing their product with more people in townships and everywhere else. But how do we shift the needle when it comes to ownership?
It's tough because there's only that much land, right? But most wine brands
Do
aren't
we need
owned
to
by
start
land.
with the land?
You
Or
know,
can we just secure the grapes from?
I bring land issues. Let's just stick
so what I'm getting at is
to wine.
So wine brands are dictated by grapes, right? But let's go to your Soweto Wine Festival firstly. I personally, I'm not giving a knock to the organizers because it's not that. But for me, what is the point of even going to Cape Town? Okay, I can use a brand like Spear because everybody knows it.
Yeah.
What's the point of going for a wine tasting at Spear? You know how it tastes.
The experience.
No, but stop. You know how it tastes. A point of a wine tasting is to try a new product. So bringing Four Cousins to Soweto, why? Do you think people don't know how Four
Because
Cousins
we
taste?
know it.
Bring brands they don't know. Let's start there. And that's what I said. A person in wine, myself, I never drink the same bottle of wine twice
But wine
if I
is an
can.
acquired taste as well. Like I said
But,
earlier.
but you don't know what you like until you try them all.
Okay.
You
So-
sound like a So you're sounding like a wine snob.
Yes, but I am one. We
Okay.
know this.
So let's put wine aside. We're gonna get back to wine. Google.
Yeah.
Why wine and where's Cezanne from? Because everybody's hearing, everybody we're talking to on the family table, you got this guy that he believes knows wine better than anybody else. You're sounding like a wine snob. Why wine and where's Cezanne from?
Look, I'm from East River. It's obviously a colored hood in Cape Town. It's 5 minutes from Middelburg.
Okay.
Just proximity from Stellenbosch. So it's borders Stellenbosch. So that's where I'm from, the area. But I went to Stellenbosch University and got into wine by getting into, picking up girls. So I'm an 18-year-old broke university student. And wine farms look pretty. You can say what you want. They look very nice. So at 18 years old, nobody knows how much it costs. So I'd take girls on wine tastings and I'd be like, they would be like, oh, the bill, at the end the bill comes right. I'm like, no, baby, I got this. I'll meet you at the car. And it would be free or 30 rand. But they don't need to know that, right? So I used the venue.
Talk about a cheap date.
Hey, it worked. Okay. And I repeated the process a few times. And then eventually I would go by myself to wine farms, So instead of taking a girl now, I went alone. And that's what I'm getting at, is when you get into wine, you want to explore, And then obviously that was just a passion kind of a thing. And I did that in my early 20s, every Saturday. Everybody knows Cezanne is available after 2. Because I'm at the first wine farm at 10 a.m. on a Saturday. And I'd go at least to 2-3 new farms all the time, right?
With a different girl.
No, by myself now.
Oh, okay.
And then
you're a busy man.
no, I wish. But then I explored wine, and then I moved to South Korea for a little bit, came back, and then I did my MBA out in Los Angeles, lived in the US for a while, and then came back and worked in corporate a bit. But then I was like, man, it's not for me. I'm too loud. I'm not going to get promoted. Let's be honest. So
I don't see.
So
I can imagine an investment banker trying to promote you.
well, now it's easier, but back then it was tough. So you go around trying to get financing. Nobody would finance the business, And I had a big name be my first investor once the shop's up and running, but my folks obviously funded it, because I went to and that's where we say we have this funding schemes in this country through the government. Like if you're black, with a nice idea, we'll give you money. And I was like, I have an MBA, I'm giving a business plan, I got a solid business idea, but nobody would fund it. So it's like, it's very hard to get money nowadays, unless you showed one, and once you show one, you can get more. But to get that first one off the ground, as a young person of color, it's tough.
Sure.
But the whole concept was education. There has to be an element of education. So even 18, 13. So I was somewhat tipsy when I came up with the name, but it's, okay, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What temperature do you drink red wine at?
I don't know, room temperature?
Okay, thank you, because I wanted to call you out on your own show about it.
Oh, so I got points for that, right?
Okay, dude, I think you've got 5 minutes and you're off. You can't come and at the family. This is flipping our family. This is our table.
Cezanne is educating us here, Bongani. There's no need to become
Don't worry, people
hostile.
get touched when they
Stop being
challenge.
nice.
It's okay.
This guy's a snob.
You don't need to like it. Your viewers are going to enjoy the content.
All right, okay.
So I did a tasting in Ghana, and I asked people, what temperature do you drink red wine at? And they gave the same room temperature. This room's bloody hot to me. So no offense to your room. I know there's lights and everything. But room temperature is European room temperature.
Oh.
And I told this guy in Ghana, I'm like, you live at the bloody equator. Do you think this is room temperature? So we drink red wine way too hot and white wine way too cold. And I
was
asked
about to ask about white wine and ice.
So I said, oh God. Fucking hell. I am out in 5 minutes.
You flipped for the wine snob on the show.
Actually,
and you're asking me about white wine.
And
I think I need to go somewhere after this.
No, I think, okay.
Oh, my people.
All right.
Anyway.
But
Yeah.
we'll fix that. We'll educate the people that
I
it's
asked
not meant to be
myself,
done.
so just to show you how serious we are about the education side of the business, I said, what's the most important thing to enjoy a bottle of, or to enjoy a wine? Is the temperature you serve it. That's without a doubt the most
So
important.
not the glass. I've heard it's the glass sometimes. and
No,
how
you can
much-
get around all of that. So we called 1813 because you drink a red wine at 18 degrees Celsius and a white wine at 13 degrees Celsius.
Ah.
So we even named the business after this to show the intent of, you know,
But we're not drinking.
focusing.
Lessons learned.
I'll do me a
Because
favor.
it's too hot to
Let me
drink.
show you.
The room
let,
is too
let me
hot.
show you something. If you don't mind passing that wine
This
there,
bottle.
and then if you don't mind,
But
I
let's be
don't wanna
honest,
rush
so how
you.
do we check the temperature
Taste your
then?
wine quickly. Just do me a favor. Just taste what you have.
Okay, I can.
I need to finish it, obviously.
Was that a taste, Cezanne?
Yeah, in my job.
Ah,
Oh boy.
is
Because
this one of your
wish me
wines,
luck.
bro?
yeah, it's one of mine.
Okay.
But I want you to show you the difference quickly. I want you to. I'm gonna show you. Okay, let's do something.
What is
Before you
it?
touch it. Before you touch it. You can put this down on the side if you don't mind.
What's the wine?
Should I lay
You
it
can
down
leave
so
it
that the
there.
cork
Oh,
doesn't
leave
get
it on the
molded?
table.
No,
so
they're
that
not
the
paying.
audience can
No,
see.
they're not paying me for marketing. Jeez, come on, let's move it on.
I was gonna have
Smell
people
it
come
like
to
this.
shop.
So, smell before you swirl.
Okay, just smell it. And then
Colour?
what I want you to do
Yeah.
is, so you got that idea now, right? Now do this. Give it a swirl. Oh, geez, she does it well.
Okay, I'm trying. I'm
Bongani
trying.
is
I'm
moving
trying,
the
man.
wine.
I'm trying.
It looks more like an earthquake happening. but okay.
I need.
If you can't swirl, put it down on the table and make a circle.
Oh, circle.
Just go, be deliberate
That's for
for the amateurs. you know?
exactly.
And then I want you to smell it again. Did it open up a bit more?
That
It did,
seems like it. Yeah,
Right?
it did.
So you smell more. So when
You're
people
like a
are
magician.
So no, that's just the reason you're swirling. So there's certain things people in the wine industry do that's purposeful. So swirling, I like explaining to guys, like, you know, when there was this thing called going to the office, not working from home, you used to have your formal shoes,
Yeah.
and you take that formal shoes off on a Friday. Do you know that feeling of relaxation you get?
Yes.
Now Google, I speak under correction, because I have no way of verifying this. But I've been told when a woman takes a bra off, yes, that counts as
100%.
swirling. So that's what happens to the wine. So that's why the wine releases itself, it'll get softer, it'll show itself a bit more. But that's the whole point of swirling. It makes a huge difference. And
So,
if you
taking
do
off a bra.
oh, whoa.
Back to the wine, please, Cezanne.
I'm just. but
Yeah,
I'm-
let's don't cancel me.
Sorry.
Don't, I'm not me to me, him.
Sorry.
I can't.
But
I need
Okay.
a new co-host.
Taking off.
Send your CVs.
taking
We're
off your
taking
formal-
submissions.
Okay, let me take off my formal shoes. The last time I wore formal shoes in high school, but fine.
so to Mongani's point, you can bring the wine. Yeah. Sorry for asking you to do it all the time.
Hard work.
It's tough. But
You
okay,
gotta grow a bicep.
next, can you taste the temperature I served it at?
After
It's
Yes.
not cold, but it's cool.
Yes.
But it's not cold.
I always used to think white wine is to serve that. Like you can't put white wine, red wine in the fridge.
No,
it's a huge difference, I must say.
So over 18 degrees Celsius, you're really gonna taste alcohol. That's what. So you're a whiskey guy, cognac guy.
Yeah.
Do you know the whiskey they put over like a bottle of hot water?
Whiskey single malt, any day.
Excuse me.
Whiskey
Try the
snobs.
wine thing.
Did we? Okay, let me just move on.
Yeah.
Scotland.
Wow.
You're just naming countries.
I'm just. I'm like there,
Like,
man.
his flex was Scotland. Like, just like, what
I
are
just
we
heard that
flexing
as
about?
well.
Like, I can say, okay, France.
Back to the wine, Cezanne.
Okay, anyway.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay, I'm focusing.
So
I'm doing
this
my thing again.
this is it's a summer wine in my opinion. It's a Mourvedre, Cinsault, Pinotage, and Merlot.
Which means to the ordinary person?
Okay, so do you know what I mean when I say Sauvignon Blanc, Merlot, Malbec? Do you know what that means?
No, I don't. I just know it's different grades or types of wine,
It's
right?
type of red.
It's the grape itself. So just like you get red apples, green apples, Granny Smith, and all of those things, you get different types of grapes. And the base grape to make the wine, that's what they call it after. So a good example is, no matter where you are in the world, Granny Smith is going to always be bitter and tart,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's a Granny Smith apple. Sauvignon Blanc, as a grape, is always going to be more acidic.
Okay.
Because the grape. And then after that, it's about what you do in the cellar and all of those things. But when we're saying those grapes, it's the name of the grape itself.
Makes sense. Lots of lessons that we're learning. I'm already intrigued.
So back to this wine.
Yes.
What grape is it?
You see what I mean?
It's a blend. Did you not read the bottle?
Let's,
Oh,
just,
is
re-
He just said it's a blend.
let's just rewind the tape.
All right. Okay. So,
Mourvedre, Cinsault, Pinotage, and Merlot.
so it's okay, cool. So it's a blend. So it's a couple of grapes.
Yeah, it's a couple of grapes. But
So-
you mainly drink, what's your favorite grape? Wine, at least.
What's that? It's
Oh no, Bongani, you can't start off like that.
no. Flip,
You don't know
I'm-
what your favorite wine is,
Listen,
but you know what's that?
I'm always at Cezanne's shop. funny
I
enough.
tease him, he does know wine. I'll give him that. He
Okay.
knows more than the average
I-
person.
Okay.
But I'm teasing him today.
What's the?
Is it
Jeez.
red? Is it white?
It's red. It's
Okay.
red. I prefer red. I find wine very acidic. It messes up with my sinusitis.
Okay.
And I learned that from C.
Oh,
that
tell
it's
us
a-
about that.
it's a- yeah, it just gives me an irritation when I drink wine.
Is that normal Cezanne or is it just a Bongani thing?
No, look, a lot of people have, it's a food product, right? So we forget that everybody has different levels of allergies and stuff like that as well. So being affected.
Jenny's End. What's Jenny's End?
You like the Merlot and the Cab. Cabs have.
There's a brand that's called
I'm
Jenny's
going to put
End.
that on the side, maybe.
Love it.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
But yeah, so that's the thing about
All right.
it.
So let's talk to us about business. I'm keen to get into the numbers
Yeah,
here.
numbers
Yeah.
here.
Let's talk about it.
Business, how has it been? We
It's
well
okay.
aware we're in a pandemic. You
Yeah.
mentioned how difficult it was to
Now you
start
can-
up.
Now you can open on Fridays again.
Yeah, but, I think this whole COVID thing, for us at least, it forced me, when you put somebody in a corner, you either come out fighting or you're going to crumble. And I actually went to work, man, so it wasn't easy, but I'm opening up another one.
Oh, wow.
In Victoria Falls, 1 December, we launch it.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
That's growth.
Yeah, it's growth, yeah, man. So, that expansion came. We're also focusing on other revenue stuff. But yeah, it was difficult, because a lot of people, I spoke to them about it, and they say, yeah, but the weak ones crumbled. And there's a lot of good business that crumbled out of no fault of their own,
Yeah.
And this attack on alcohol that we saw in this country, it was worrying, if I'm honest with you, because it was nonsensical. Why can you buy alcohol Monday to Thursday only, but you must go to a crowded bar and you can drink all weekend until whenever?
Yeah.
So being a retailer, you're sitting here wondering, well, what's the plan here? Because you're not working with numbers. So, you just have to take what you can and work around it. So we're fine, but yeah, it doesn't make sense,
I agree.
Yeah. And I think for me, the last point that I want to get into, since I'm getting a product, education.
Yeah.
Champagne versus MCC.
So South Africa,
Because I'm like,
I think I can tell you that
Everything.
answer, but you know what? I don't
listen.
want to.
No.
All I understand
Okay,
is that it's
so-
essentially about the region, right?
so
it's
go
like
for it. So go for it, and let's see if you get it right. And Cezanne confirms. So what's the difference between champagne and MCC?
I understand the method is essentially almost the same. Technically, specifically with sparkling wine, I understand that they add some kind of carbon dioxide into the actual wine itself.
There's a guy who's
Whereas with
talking about
champagne,
the bubbles inside.
there's a guy talking about.
There's a guy. I listen.
Let her
really-
finish. She was
Sorry,
talking
my
so
bad.
good. Continue, please.
Yeah.
Perfect. Carbon dioxide
Yes.
pumped into
Sparkling
the bottles
wine.
for sparkling wine. Champagne, on the other hand, there's some kind of technical method. I don't know, something to do with twisting and turning the bottle at specific times or periods. And the carbon dioxide is actually produced within the bottle itself through the fermentation process of the wine. And then the label regarding the title as to how these particular products are produced has to do with the geographic regions.
Sure.
Right? Because champagne can only be in the Champagne
No,
region in
spot on.
France.
I have not
Was that
much.
correct?
Exactly right. Well done.
You're my learned friend.
My learned
me,
friend.
stick with me.
Yeah. So South Africa is
I will learn a
actually
lot.
we improving with our MCC range. We
Yeah,
are-
because there's certain brands that are actually more expensive than some of the champagnes that are available in retail stores.
Yeah,
right?
so the demand for South African products is quite interesting because we're sitting in a real problem with South Africa. Is we entered the market as the cheap and cheerful region.
Oh.
So people came to South Africa thinking you're going to get a good value wine for cheap. This was in the 90s, late 80s, 90s, right? Then what happened after apartheid is a lot of winemakers got to travel abroad. Right? Now you guys are going to Australia, New Zealand, France, America, and then in the late 90s, early 2000s, those people that were studying abroad now comes back with all that knowledge. And that's when the
Makes
South African wine increased and improved.
Sure.
So even with us, when I export wines to China and also to the US.
I hear that's a growing market as well.
China is a great market, but they only drink red wine. But also, when we're selling wines to China, when I'm evaluating an export order compared to a local order, it's obviously different prices. you know, and you need volume for China.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just sell, even this wine, it's nice,
Yeah.
but if they like it in China, you need more.
Oh.
And you need enough to satisfy. So in retail, a lot with the black, ugh,
Township market
let's
or-
get to the black female winemakers problem. I used to stock a lot of black female winemakers. And it's nice, but unfortunately as black people, we can't just want handouts. You know,
Sure.
we have to be good at delivering on time.
Oh. Also, there's some issues
And
there in
not,
terms of
not
operational.
everybody, no, not everyone. But what I found is I was stocking brands for the sake of supporting black. But you got to be
Yeah.
good first.
Hey, Cezanne.
Because if you can't deliver when I order and the white guy can deliver tomorrow morning, we're running a business here.
I'm changing positions in my chair because I think whenever we talk black business, we always talk about, they let us down again, not delivering on time, or the goods not actually meeting standards. And I think there's lessons that we can learn here, not only
Yeah.
from the, wine industry, but that can also speak to the audience in terms of other sectors, how we just need to make sure we get our stuff in order.
Let me tell you something. I don't own a BE license.
But why, Cezanne?
Because you must choose me because I'm the best. I understand that there's other benefits to it and
Sure.
with companies. But for me, you come to me because I'm better than anybody.
Sure.
Don't come to me because I'm a black business. Like, thank you for supporting me. We have a lot of people that do or are
Support
proud when they
because-
find out. But they come to the shop and they're asking questions. They're like, who owns this place? And then when you say, oh, I own it. And then they're like, oh, wow. But they must first be impressed before that wow.
I like
Sure.
that.
Because for me, we try to compete on handouts. And look at our education system, you know. We're sitting where you need bloody 30% to pass, and then they give you extra 5% too sometimes.
So that's a story for
And
another
for
Bare
me,
minimum.
you gotta say, listen here, there's a reason behind, or there's motivation to be good,
Sure.
you know, and you gotta earn what you can get. And now I certainly believe that there are disadvantages, surely, being black. I was talking about getting money to start my business.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Right? It's way easier getting money if you're a white guy because you might know someone, your family, or there's just access. Or that banker looks at you a bit different.
Sure.
So I do understand that. But when you're operating, I think once you're running, run and be the best regardless of race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, mate, I think, I mean, I'm always at your shop.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. You're doing great work there. There's a lot of black entrepreneurs out there trying to get into industries that are predominantly white.
Yeah.
Wine was one of them.
Yeah.
I think if you were to give advice, since we're at the family table, like 2 points in terms of how do you, the bar is set that high.
Yeah.
How do you sort of change the mind shift, have a mind shift in terms of getting into that industry? 2 points from an entrepreneur point of view. So, be it wine, be it tourism, be it motor industry, whatever. If I'm sitting at home on the family table, like, what am I taking out of this? I mean, this guy, they've drank wine, they've discussed this. What are the 2 things that you can tell any entrepreneur out there trying to break into an industry that's predominantly white owned?
Yeah, I think, look, I entered this game a young guy and very naive. I learned a lot of lessons, almost went fucking broke a few times.
Sure.
You know, I was lucky enough to stick around. But I think what I've learned from that is, number one, make sure you're the best. Make sure you're the best, and you know, whether it's a,
Here.
you know, so, thank you. Because if you ask me, we've got enough talent in this country to be the best.
Yeah.
It's not like we're not smart people. So why can't we be better than that guy? We majority of the country, we go to the same universities and all these same education. So make your brand the best. Deliver on time. That's my biggest frustration. We can't use this black time nonsense excuse.
African time.
Because this African time excuse doesn't work in business.
Yes.
It is a time and a place. If I'm coming to your braai, fine. But if I'm a business owner and this white guy is delivering on time and you're not, guess what? I'm not going to list you because you're
Sure.
affecting my money now.
Yes.
So make sure that you're delivering on time. That's very important to me.
Okay.
And then I think we also don't plan, if I could give advice, not necessarily with black and versus white. I've learned if I could do it earlier, plan for the next phase. So you're here now, what's next? And you don't have to implement it. But if somebody approaches you with the right money, with saying, listen, what do you need? I got the money. What's the next plan? Be ready to say, this is the plan so they can take you to that next level. Because you never know when that happens. It happens, at a braai randomly.
Exactly.
And most business deals don't happen in corporate offices. We know this, So always plan for the next step as well. I think that's very important. Because otherwise you're going to be in the same place.
What's your next step?
Well, expansion. We're opening up in Vic Falls. That's happening later this year. And then I hate it, man, because I'm not a big guy, but I'm trying to get more in the media wine space. I'm trying to be more of an influencer because we need somebody to break this shit down fun. Because there's enough boring white guys doing it. Now that we can say it. But can you get a guy that's just fun? Because more people are going to get into it.
Exactly. So
I'm all about ownership. Consumption is one thing, which we
next
definitely
time
want to
I go to a
drive.
restaurant, I'll be like, it
You,
opens it up.
you're moving the wine, Bongani.
He's-
You are moving
he's
it.
Oh,
not
sorry.
swirling.
Okay.
It's earthquake.
I'll keep it to the table.
Yeah.
Thank
I'll
you.
keep it to the family table. Cezanne, what I think we need to do is we're going to come to the shop
Yeah.
at the family table, maybe have a couple of conversations there,
Yeah.
and we can do some tastings.
I'd love to have you guys.
Yeah, man.
And no ice in your wine.
I know me.
We'll talk about that, yeah.
Cezanne, I'm going to keep to the topic and theme around business, right? Because that's the stuff that intrigues me. And I even said a moment ago, it's great that we want to drive consumption, but ownership,
Yeah.
for me, it still remains quite a critical theme.
Yes.
And it's interesting because, as you rightfully said earlier, we're seeing a nice drive of more people trying to get involved in being sommeliers, urban
Yes.
wineries as well that have
Yeah.
been established. But help me understand the dynamic in terms of women and their participation in the wine industry. Are we seeing enough transformation there?
Funny enough, the biggest shift in wine is females, especially in the black ownership space. There's more black female brands than male. That's kind of positive. So I like that. Also with female winemakers, not just black, white women are also making a lot of good wines. I don't know. I see a lot of transformation happening in that space. It used to be a very old Afrikaner industry,
Yeah.
but now it's moving in the right direction, I think. So it's definitely a positive step.
And the industry is opening up. I mean, opportunities for partnership. So that it's not just, again, like a series of first black or first female trying to penetrate
Yes.
the market. That's way too huge.
Yeah, I think also, I think that the trust of whether a female can do it is proven. It's nonsense. It's not even a consideration to me. So when I'm choosing wine, how I select wine is very simple. I select wine based on what's in the glass at the price point. Because that's what matters,
Sure.
right? So anybody can sell expensive wine. It's very easy. Just go find the most expensive wine, say you boutique, and then charge Joburg prices. Because the biggest problem we have is the design of the shop. It's actually the biggest problem I have.
Tell us
People
how.
don't want to come in
Why?
because it looks too expensive.
Wow.
I'm telling you, that's the biggest problem we have, is that I designed a place that's different because remember, I never owned a business before this. I was 26, I wanted to make a place that I want to go. But now you're used to seeing what you're used to seeing. So when you see this, you assume, oh no, it can't look like this and be cheap, right? So I wanted to make a place because I think there's a stigma about liquor that I don't like. Liquor stores.
Yeah.
So, for instance, man, when people say I own a liquor store, I get this little itch because I don't. It's not a liquor store.
So what do you call your place?
Look, it's a wine boutique and tasting room, But to me, when people think of what I have, even family, especially colored family, fuck. God, damn.
What happens there?
So I'll tell you a story, right? The family table was born at 1813
Yes.
because it's got this long table, and you come in, and anybody is able to sit there. Business deals are done there.
Yeah.
I'm sure one day we'll hear a story of a couple met there and got married. But it's that sort of environment whereby you get in. I think for me, what I want to get into sacrifice, right, and
Yeah.
belief in a dream. and you speak about the sacrifices about that your parents made, and I remember you and me having a conversation about failure and sacrifice, and you spoke about how your parents had to take a second bond to back your dream.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we spoke earlier to get financing, you know. Coming back circle now, I went to apply for every type of financing, went to every bank, and then couldn't get a cent. And my parents said, look here, if you believe in this, we'll back you. And took a second mortgage on the house, financed the business. And they said, look, there was talks of pay it back when you're ready, but it's really like, it's yours, just do your best, don't worry about us.
Wow.
But now, I don't come from a lot of money.
Sure.
Like, that's a
huge sacrifice, yeah. For
I
many
have
South
very
African
smart
families.
parents. They have really nice jobs, but I mean, look, I was a tennis player growing up. I was in top 10 in the country, was on tour most of the time. But only reason I got lucky is because I had parents that were willing to take that risk.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of rich kids that parents say, no, fuck it, you must go get your own jobs, you know. So
I was about to jump in there and ask you about family, because as you say, you could have been a rich kid and your family could have pushed you out to say, hold on, go start up your own company, make your own money, get your own financial backing. What conversations about business and money actually took place at your family table with your parents growing up that might have influenced your thinking and even the journey into entrepreneurship?
look, that's a great question. I see why you're the host.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm just here to drink the wine.
Bulgarian eyes guest today. Well, I'm joking. So yeah, I think talking finances is really important. And growing up, I never. No, now that I think about it, I never got a Christmas present since I was 12,
Wow.
or a birthday present, because I said I don't need one. You know, my parents. I went to a private school. Went to Somerset College. Got one of the best schools in Cape Town. I was touring the country for tennis. They financed all of that.
Look at you.
But so when I wanted something, I'd work for it. I did every job from, you know, there's guys in Pick and Pay giving yogurt samples.
Yes.
I was on corners.
Promoters.
Yes, that's where you started.
I was on the corners handing out flyers. I did background work, so I did all of the stuff to finance my own stuff. And what was nice is that if you wanted, you go get it.
So your parents didn't necessarily discuss money, but the work ethic was definitely ingrained in you.
Yeah. So they said, look, if you want something, go get it. You know, and it's the same thing about tennis. I played tennis, right? So
That's quite odd though, right? Because you did an MBA.
a short color guy playing tennis. That's not funny.
That's not what I said.
I thought we were getting along.
That's not what I said.
So I think to be on the tennis part, right, is don't feel alienated. I'm a black guy who's trying to learn how to swim.
He's
Right? So I'm like improving on my
That
swimming.
which is your stereotype.
I'm improving on my swimming. I'm mountain biking. I'm like breaking the trend here, like you in the wine business.
Okay.
I'm mountain biking. Flip, give a brother a break.
No,
No, he's trying.
Right?
He is.
Right?
He just wanted
Um,
everybody to know that too.
Precisely.
Nobody asked.
I believe. Stop it. I believe that there's an element that tennis gave you discipline. What you're
Definitely.
achieving now. So
Definitely.
I look at the difficulty. I always say, my swimming lessons are 3 times a week at 5 o'clock. The difficulty is in waking up.
Yeah.
It's not about the actual being in the water.
Yeah.
It's about the waking up. And what I've learned as an entrepreneur is that there's things that you do that are not core to what you do every day.
Yes.
That transcend
Yes.
to that.
Certainly.
And what did tennis, and what lessons did you learn from tennis that, obviously, I don't think you met Serena Williams,
No.
but
Did you get to ATPs?
No. I played college levels and then I got a shoulder injury, so I had to pull out. Yeah. But no, Bongani, it's a great point. And I think sports in general, but tennis is something about tennis. And maybe it's partly why I didn't do the B certificate thing, is that the only guy on that court is you. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose.
sure.
You know, there's no like my fly off played really nice, or
Yes.
you know
Striker.
the goalkeeper made a good save.
Yes.
There's no one to blame.
It's all on you.
So if you want reward, you need to get it. You know, and I was in the tennis academy since I was 11 years old, and I had to leave school at 12:30 every day. So school's until what, 2:30?
Yeah.
So I left school at 12:30 every day to go play 5 hours of tennis, and I had to make out that last 2 lessons that I missed. I didn't get a reduction of it. I didn't write a different test. I still had to write the same test as everybody else.
Sure.
So it taught me like how to learn things by yourself, because obviously you're learning stuff that you don't experience in the classroom. But the discipline, to Bungani's point, I think sports as a man. I don't have kids, but if I have kids, sports and travel is the 2 things I recommend everybody does. Because sports teaches you discipline, and travel teaches you to open your mind. Because it's weird, because now I see more.
Sports and travel.
Yeah, I see more stuff. I hearing through the grapevine, I hear more similar business models of mine pop up, which is good. Interpretation is the biggest form of flattery. So I don't mind that, and I like competition. Funny enough, actually, when I hear it, I'm like, yes, someone to compete against.
Really?
And it also shows that the market is opening up, right?
And the market's opening up. We're growing, because my goal is to help South Africa, in my small little way, create a wine culture. And if more of us can do it, the better.
What about collaborative opportunities? Going back to that tennis mindset, but as you say, still being open enough to make the
Doubles.
circle bigger.
Yeah,
so to
doubles.
speak.
Yeah, sure. I love collaborating. For me, I collaborate with people that I don't know the answers to things. Now, I'm not the greatest wine guy, but I know wine. So when I know what I don't have, and like these guys that I teamed up with for my next ventures, who has access to distribution. I have guys in the tourism industry partnering up. I have people that have influence with more celebrities, more media, all of those. Because I'd rather have a smaller piece of a big pie than, because you don't know everything. I don't know this stuff, and I don't know tourism. So if I can have people drive, I know the product. I can put in front of you the best product possible. Can somebody help me get people there? So I think collaborating, and I think as black people, we need to start doing that more. I can speak for colored people. Man, you don't want that guy across the road winning, because that means you lose.
Yeah.
And once you change that, you win. Because once you realize, actually, if he makes it, I know another rich guy.
Precisely.
Sure.
So for me, I love my friends' winnings, because I like my circle being strong. You mentioned something about either sum equation of your 5 friends.
Yes, you're the average of your 5 friends.
Exactly. And for me, I want to be the dumbest person in the room, because that means I'm in the right room.
Only way up is up,
You
right,
know?
for
Yeah.
you to learn.
But you need to take ego out of it.
Just bring the wine, bro.
and
Be
for
dumb
me,
and bring wine.
let me tell you something. I never always had. Okay. let me-
Go, say it, Cezanne.
but my point is, I wasn't always like this. I had a loser mentality, even though I was theory, MBA, winning, owning a business. I had a loser mentality. But then I got humbled.
By what?
I almost lost my business.
Talk to us about that. And I say this because I know it's a passion point for Bongani, right? But we
Yeah.
never really talk about the struggles that entrepreneurs go
Yeah,
through.
man.
Failure.
Mental health,
Everybody-
failure,
yeah.
imposter syndrome.
I actually want to talk about imposter. So you speak a lot about being colored from Cape Town. We black.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're sitting there and you're like, this is the family table.
Yeah.
Shit. You're like, I'm a black guy in advertising. I'm sitting in, the clients are all white, and I'm presenting, and people are like buying from me. And you sort of sit there and think, when is this dream gonna end?
Yeah.
You always sit there. You always like, when am I gonna get caught out?
Anticipating
When will the
failure.
lie end? Like
Yeah.
you always there, and you've spoken about being colored quite a lot.
Yeah.
And how is that? How is there an imposter syndrome? Like, how do you wake up every day and sort of feel, that success is defined differently.
Yeah.
But like, I've got this. This is what I'm doing every day.
Yeah, I think you have a great point. I had 2 weeks ago an experience where the business is growing and we're getting recognized really as the experts in wine tasting in Joburg, at least. So even if you Google wine tasting, we're the first guys to come up. And I haven't
Nice.
spent a cent on SEOs or market. I actually haven't
Well
spent a cent on
done.
marketing. And you get a high Google reviews, Facebook's high, and I'm like, man. To your point, these days I wake up and I think, is the roller coaster going to stop? Because I think,
Yes.
but then I start asking myself, maybe it's like weight loss. You know, is that you only realize you lost weight when somebody tells you that hasn't seen you for a long time. Because when you lose weight, you're just seeing it, but you're seeing the change, but it's so minuscule that you actually don't see the change until somebody tells you, oh my God, dude, you lost so much weight.
And after a substantial period of time, right?
Exactly,
So you need to
right?
keep doing the work.
Even your partner doesn't see your weight loss really because they're seeing it. And with business growth, it's weird, man, because I get guys all over the place saying, let's open some 18, 13 here and there, and we had an red carpet event at the place doing it, like 2 weeks ago. And you're like, man, whoa, when did this happen?
Exactly.
You know, and why is everybody so hot on like at least the products, you know? Obviously, profits can always increase, you know, but it's like, man, am I really the wine expert? Like, sometimes I check myself, and then after the tasting, and you're getting a clap from people, and you're like, oh shit, maybe I do know something about this, you know? So I think, it's definitely, you don't see it because you're in it, and it's such a long grind. And to your point, you and I had a lot of frank conversations about this. Everybody wants to, where's this going? What words can I use?
Yeah, well,
you
use
can use
whatever
whatever
you want to
words.
use. It's a
Okay.
family table.
There's a lot of big dicking in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
You know, you want to have
Tell
the
us about
car.
that.
Well, I don't do it because I don't have one. But my point is, it's a case of like, you always want to flex on the next guy.
It's a wine talk.
You don't
I
have
hope
what?
so.
Sorry?
No, like Google, why are you?
Well,
The car.
When we said we were going to speak to
The
Cezanne,
car.
I didn't know that he was going to Let's. I think finish this.
Yeah.
And Google might have some other
Yeah.
things to discuss.
But my point is, I think we make it seem easy, and that's the thing. Success is making it look easy, but then you're successful when you make it look easy. But we don't be honest and say, listen here, man, it's not always easy. Sometimes I can't eat.
You nearly
sometimes
lost your business.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I was a young guy. I don't want to bring names in because they don't need to be in this interview.
No.
But really influential people invested, right? And I ended up saying, "All right, cool, man. Shit, a lot of money in the bank, you know. Obviously, we got some money out of it, and then I moved to the US to start up an import company importing South African wines. And I'm like, I'll run it from the States because I have a manager now. You know, like,
Oh.
you know, I don't have to be there every
You're
day.
Cezanne.
No, but
You Cezanne,
You
the
think
entrepreneur,
no.
Yeah.
But
extraordinaire.
Okay.
Just saying.
The whole point is you're told that success means when you don't have to be there and somebody's making you money, right? So it's like, hey man, you don't have to be there. Shit, you're the boss. Be the boss.
I can play golf
You know what I
3
mean?
times a week.
Well, I still do that. But my point is, I just
Levels.
like golf.
This guy.
I like golf. I broke 90 recently. Anyway, my point is, nah, they're not impressed. But yeah, so I was in the US, and then obviously with not being there, you know, things went to shit. You know, and I had to come back and save a situation. We had zero cash,
Sure.
heavily indebted to suppliers. You know, so a lot of guys didn't want to supply us. You know, so it's a case of now you're sitting with, I have a shop, I need wine, and guys in the industry are like, yo, don't supply this guy, doesn't pay.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Reputation. on
you
the
know what I
line.
mean? So this was about 3-4 years ago. And since I've been back, now we're at a point where like 2-3 years ago, you know, you get guys calling you and saying, hey man, can we start? And like big boys calling you again. You're like, okay, things are back, you know. But it took sitting in front of a supplier and saying, yo man, how can we make this work? And that's when I learned one, humility, but also business. Because you realize, hey, there's a way out of everything if you're just honest. Because the day, you know, I can finally, there was times where you don't want to answer your phones, you know,
100%.
where you're like, man, shit, if I answer this, it's not going to be a good call. Or you like actually wake up with anxiety because you're like,
And-
man, I don't feel like
Yeah.
this today.
And it's a conversation that I've had with Google before around I think where entrepreneurs get it wrong mostly is accepting where you are at the moment.
Yeah,
Is accepting that either the business is in trouble
yeah,
and you need to solve it.
yeah.
And you need to have those conversations with debtors, suppliers, the bank or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And most of the times is that people understand. Because people understand the cyclical nature of businesses is that sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down.
So people understand, but it's the psyche of entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
They get stuck in that.
Yeah.
The challenge with most entrepreneurs is they get the ostrich mentality. Is you put your head in the
Yeah.
sand and hoping
It will go
it'll
away.
go away.
Yes.
Debt never goes
Oh
away.
God, man, doesn't.
You have to face it. So and the other thing that based on the conversation that we've had with Cezanne is that there isn't, after everybody's gone, after when you're at 10:30 at night, your spouse, your partner, your kids are going to bed.
You're alone.
You're alone. And you need to tell yourself, I'm going to face tomorrow A, B, C, and